With no power, the conveniences we've grown so accustomed to, like the internet, television, and modern forms of entertainment, would vanish. People would have no choice but to go back to older forms of entertainment, like reading books, playing board games, or engaging in face-to-face conversations. However, with no electricity, the sense of isolation would grow stronger. People would struggle to find ways to pass the time, and in places where food supplies were running low, there would be fewer options for people to maintain their physical and mental health. Yet, during this time, one of the most significant challenges people would face is the lack of clean drinking water. Without power, water treatment plants would shut down, leaving millions of people without access to the clean water they rely on for survival. At first, people might try to use bottled water, but once stores run out, the situation would worsen. In many areas, people would have to resort to finding alternative water sources, such as rivers, lakes, or even rainwater, but this would carry its own set of risks. Contaminated water could lead to widespread illnesses, and access to clean water would quickly become one of the most sought-after resources. Communities would begin to organize to find safe ways to collect and distribute water, but it wouldn't take long before tensions started to rise, as the race for this essential resource grew more desperate. In major cities, the lack of power would bring more severe problems. People would still need to go to work, and businesses would still need to open. But without electricity, the usual systems for managing these operations would break down. Offices, stores, and factories would be forced to close, resulting in lost income and widespread economic turmoil. The global economy would grind to a halt, leaving people without the resources they rely on for daily life. The financial consequences would be devastating, and without power, it would be impossible to conduct business as usual. People would start to realize that this wasn't just a temporary inconvenience, but a shift in the very fabric of society. One of the most significant challenges people would face in a world without electricity would be the loss of medical services. Hospitals depend on power for life-saving equipment like ventilators, dialysis machines, and incubators. Without electricity, many of these essential services would be rendered useless, putting countless lives at risk. People who rely on electric-powered medical devices would find themselves in a critical situation. The healthcare system would be overwhelmed, and with no way to communicate with doctors or hospitals, many would have to rely on their own survival instincts to stay alive. The absence of power would also lead to an increase in medical emergencies, as people living with chronic conditions would be unable to get the treatment they need. As the weeks go by, some communities might start to come together to survive. People would share resources and rely on each other more heavily. It's likely that neighborhoods would bond in ways that we haven't seen in modern times, as people look out for each other and do what they can to make it through. However, as the days wear on, the lack of resources would create tension, food would become increasingly scarce, and the social order we take for granted would begin to erode.